Hey everyone, and welcome to RUBIN'S Mind Lab, where we break down the latest research into what it really means. Ever wonder why some people just seem to connect better with their therapists or doctors? And if that connection actually makes a difference in their treatment? Well, this new study dives deep into exactly that, looking at the unseen threads that tie us to our caregivers. So, imagine you are going through a tough time and you are seeing a mental health professional, whether it is a therapist or a psychiatrist. We know that the specific techniques they use are important, but this paper focuses on something called common factors. These are like the universal ingredients for a good treatment. No matter the approach, think of things like trust, understanding, and feeling like you are on the same page with your caregiver. It turns out these things can explain a big chunk of why treatment works. And then there are facilitative interpersonal skills, which are basically the therapist's abilities to create that good connection. Scroll abstract common factors and facilitative interpersonal skills are central to mental health treatment outcomes. Yet existing assessments remain fragmented across constructs, modalities, and rater perspectives. Scroll, the problem is measuring these common factors and skills has been a bit all over the place. Different tools measure different things. Some require experts to watch videos of therapy sessions, and most don't ask the patient directly in a way that covers everything. That is where these researchers come in, and they've created something called the CMICF, which stands for the Cross-Modal Inventory for Common Factors and Facilitative Interpersonal Skills. The big deal here is that it is a short patient-reported measure, meaning you, as the patient, can fill it out. And it is designed for both therapy and psychiatric care. Scroll introduction across psychotherapeutic approaches. A substantial proportion of treatment outcome variance is explained by common factors. Trans-theoretical elements shared across modalities rather than specific to any one school of psychotherapy, Wampold and Emil, 2015. Scroll, they started with a lot of questions, over 100 actually, covering 14 different areas related to the therapeutic relationship. Think about things like feeling understood, having shared goals with your therapist, feeling hopeful about treatment, and whether your therapist seems genuine. They then use some really cool computer science techniques, like ant colony optimization, which is inspired by how ants find the shortest path to food, to help them narrow down the best questions. It is like finding the most efficient way to get the most important information. After all that work, they ended up with a 33-item questionnaire. This questionnaire measures 9 key areas. First, there is alliance bond capacity, which is about feeling a connection and appreciation with your clinician. Then goals and collaboration, meaning are you and your therapist on the same page about what you are trying to achieve and how you'll get there. Congruence is about your therapist being genuine and authentic. Emotional expression is about how well you and your therapist can explore and communicate feelings. Hope and positive expectations is about feeling optimistic about the treatment. Treatment credibility is about whether you believe the treatment approach and your therapist are effective. Managing countertransference is an interesting one. It is about how the therapist handles their own reactions to you. Rupture. Repair responsiveness is about how well tensions or misunderstandings in the relationship are addressed. And finally, verbal fluency, which is about how clear and articulate your clinician is. They tested this new questionnaire on a huge number of people, over 1,900 in total, split into 2 groups, one for building the tool and one for testing it. And the results were really strong. The structure of the questions held up really well, meaning the 9 factors they identified seemed to accurately represent how people felt about their treatment. The scores for each part of the questionnaire were also very consistent, meaning if you filled it out multiple times, you'd likely get similar results. Especially for most sections, though, congruence was a little less consistent, which is something to note. The big win here is that this measure works well across different types of treatment settings. Whether someone was seeing a psychiatrist or a psychotherapist, the questionnaire measured things in the same way. They also checked if it worked for people with different levels of personality challenges. And it did. This measurement in variance is super important because it means the tool is reliable and means the same thing for everyone. Now let's talk about what they found when they looked at how the CMICF related to other things. They found that the scores on the different parts of the CMICF were related in the ways they expected to other well-known measures of things like alliance, empathy, and how much patients expected therapy to help. For example, A strong alliance bond capacity on the CMIF was strongly linked to high scores on measures of the working alliance. This is called convergent validity, and it means the CMIF is measuring what it is supposed to be measuring. They also looked at discriminant validity, which is about making sure the CMIC doesn't measure things it is not supposed to. They found that the scores on the CMIC were only slightly negatively related to measures of psychopathology, like depression and anxiety symptoms. This is great because it means that feeling good about your therapeutic relationship isn't just about not being sick, it is a distinct quality of the experience. Even though some parts like alliance bond capacity were highly correlated with each other, suggesting a strong overall bond might encompass many of these skills, the separate factors still provided unique information. So, what does this all mean for you and me? Well, the CMIF questionnaire seems like a really useful tool for both patients and clinicians. It gives patients a brief way to actually talk about and report on the quality of the relationship they have with their mental health provider. It can help catch issues early, like if there is a weak bond or if misunderstandings aren't being resolved. This feedback can help make treatments better and potentially reduce people dropping out of therapy. For psychiatrists, this could be especially helpful because often the time spent with a psychiatrist can be shorter, and focusing on the therapeutic relationship might be just as crucial as medication. It allows for a more holistic view of care. The researchers even suggest this tool could be used to study how we relate to AI mental health chatbots in the future, to see if the connections users feel with these bots are actually meaningful. Now, like any study, there are some limitations. The people who participated were recruited through a mental health app, so they might be more tech-savvy or interested in self-monitoring than the general population. Also, the sample was mostly female, so it is harder to say if these results apply equally to men. They also didn't include ratings from therapists or observers, relying only on patient reports, and it is a snapshot in time, so we can't say for sure that good relationship skills cause better outcomes, although the evidence strongly suggests it. Future research could look at how these scores change over time and if they predict actual recovery. Scroll constraints on generality. The sample was recruited through a mental health application and comprised adults receiving psychotherapeutic or psychiatric treatment in Germany. Scroll despite these limitations. This study is a big step forward in understanding and measuring something so vital to mental health treatment. It gives us a more concrete way to talk about and improve the human connection in care, which is, after all, often the heart of healing. It's a strong reminder that while the science of therapy is important, the art of the relationship is just as critical. Scroll conclusion: the CMIF is a psychometrically robust, efficient, and versatile instrument for assessing common factors and facilitative interpersonal skills from the patient's perspective in both psychotherapy and psychiatric care. Scroll, what do you think about this research? Does it resonate with your own experiences in healthcare? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video if you found it helpful. Subscribe to RUBIN'S Mind Lab for more breakdowns of fascinating science and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next exploration. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.